The sign on the gate was clear enough. Park closed. Seasonal maintenance. No entry. The chain was newer than the metal it wrapped around. Someone had sprayed it with fluorescent orange paint like they really wanted it to be seen. I stepped around it. It wasn't like I was a teenager sneaking in for a party. I'd worked this park for 8 seasons straight. Trail maintenance, signage, first aid, the occasional lost hiker. When they shut it down for winter, I stayed behind as part of the skeleton crew. This year, there was no crew. Budget cuts, they said. 1 ranger in the office down in town. Automated systems. Remote monitoring. "We don't need eyes on site when visitors are 0, the district manager had told me over a glitchy video call. Maybe they didn't, but I did. I told myself I was just doing a quick walkthrough. One last look at the place that had been my whole life for almost a decade. Logging cabin, high meadows, the ridge trail where the sunsets looked painted on. Besides, I still had my keys, my badge, my radio. Technically, I wasn't trespassing. The gravel road beyond the gate was covered in a thin crust of ice and old leaves. No tire tracks except mine. On either side, the trees pressed in, nude branches woven over the road like a gray tunnel. The world felt smaller, without the chatter of tourists. Half a mile in, the silence started to bother me. No air conditioners humming at the visitor center. No kids yelling, no crunch of boots on gravel from somewhere just out of sight. Even the birds were quiet, like someone had draped a blanket over the whole sky. I clicked on my handheld radio out of habit. The old park frequency crackled. "Control, this is Matt," I said, entering main access road for a quick visual sweep. "Acknowledge." Static. Right. No one in the control room. It was just me. I kept walking. The visitor center appeared through the trees, its dark windows reflecting back a warped image of the forest. The parking lot was empty. No RVs, no sedans, no school buses, just painted lines slowly chipping away and a single overturned trash can rolling in the slow wind. The front door was locked, like it should be. I used my key. The smell hit me as soon as I stepped inside. Dust, cold wood, the faint ghost of sunscreen and cheap coffee. Lights off, computers off. And yet, somewhere deeper in the building, I heard a hum. I followed it to the small operations room behind the information desk. That's where we kept the camera feeds, the weather monitor, the old PA system that piped recorded messages to the trailheads. The room should have been dead. The PA console was on. A single red LED glowed on the panel. The tiny screen above it read, "Idle." I frowned. That's not right. I hadn't touched that system in weeks. It was supposed to be on a timer. Messages during open hours. Silence the rest of the time. With the park closed, it should have been shut down entirely. I flicked through the settings. No scheduled messages were active. No manual override. I was about to pull the main power when the LED turned green. The screen changed. Broadcasting. Loop. A low, thin voice seeped out of the little speaker, tinny and distant. "Welcome to Northridge National Park," it said. "For your safety, please stay on marked trails at all times." I let out the breath I'd been holding, just a canned loop, an automatic restart, glitchy but explainable. The voice continued, reciting the same phrases I'd heard 1,000 times. "Report any suspicious activity to the nearest ranger. Remember, you're responsible for your own safety." Then it said something new. "Matt, please proceed to the main trailhead." I froze. The PA had never used names. It couldn't. The system was ancient, built to play pre-recorded tapes we digitized years ago. I knew every line. This wasn't one of them. Did I record that? I muttered. No, I would have remembered. Besides, the voice was wrong, too flat, like someone had clipped apart words and stitched them back together. "Matt, please proceed to the main trailhead," it repeated. The screen flickered. New text appeared. Real-time message. Source. External from where? I killed power to the console. The LED went dark. From outside, muffled by walls and distance, I heard the faint crackle of speakers. "Welcome to Northridge National Park." It was still talking. I stepped back out into the empty visitor center. The sound grew clearer, a disembodied voice floating through the air vents. "Matt, please proceed to the main trailhead." My fingers tightened around my radio. "Someone playing a joke?" I asked the emptiness. "You got into the PA from town?" "Very funny." No answer. Fine, I'd check the main trailhead. Verify no one had broken in. Maybe there was some stupid Bluetooth hack I hadn't read about. The trailhead was a 10-minute walk from the center, up a paved path lined with educational signs about local fauna. I knew them by heart. The PA speakers along the way were old gray boxes mounted on posts, mouths locked shut. No lights, no wires exposed, no upgrades in years. The voice followed me as I walked. "Welcome to Northridge National Park. Remember to carry water. Please stay on designated paths. Matt, you are leaving the road." I stopped. I'd just stepped off the pavement, cutting across the dormant grass as I always did when the park was empty. It had commented on that. "Okay," I said more loudly than necessary. "I get it, you're clever. How are you tracking me?" Silence. Then, from the speaker right above me, "Matt, please stay on designated paths." The voice wasn't the warmth of our usual recording. It was flat, almost bored. The screen on my handheld radio flickered. It wasn't even supposed to be receiving park broadcasts. It was on a different channel entirely. "Trailhead," the display read. The main trailhead sign loomed ahead, a big wooden board with the park map, rules, and a glass-fronted case where we posted fire warnings. Next to it, perched like a metal crow, was the largest PA speaker in the system. It was already on when I arrived. "You are responsible for your own safety," it said. "Trail conditions may change without warning." The map under the glass had been updated. Not by me. My marker routes, with their carefully drawn loops and distances, had been redrawn in a shaky black line that cut across everything, over ridges, through no-go zones, past areas clearly marked "closed." At the end of the black line, near a tiny icon of a cliff, someone had written one word in smudged marker: "You." I reached for the latch to open the case. The speaker above me snapped. "Matt," it said, "proceed to the overlook." "No," I said. The word felt strange in my mouth, denying an inanimate object, like arguing with a smoke alarm. "Matt," it repeated, "proceed to the overlook." My radio clicked on by itself. "Trail conditions are currently favorable," the PA voice said through the radio. "You are expected at the overlook." Expected by who? Wind pushed through the trees, rattling dry leaves. Somewhere distant, something metallic clanged, like a loose gate swinging. I should have gone back. I took the trail instead. Old habit, years of following orders, of checking on things that weren't quite right. If a sign was down, I fixed it. If a tree blocked the path, I cut it. If something was broadcasting from a dead system, I found out why. The forest closed around me as I climbed. The trail was familiar, switchbacks through pine and oak, occasional glimpses of the valley below. No snow yet, but frost silvered the edges of rocks. The speakers further up the trail had never worked well, so we rarely used them. Today, they were all awake. "Welcome to Northridge National Park," they murmured as I passed. "You are responsible. You are responsible. You are responsible." "For what?" I shouted. One of them answered, "For coming back." The overlook was a slab of rock jutting out over a steep drop, fenced off with worn wooden rails. In peak season, you could barely move for the crowds. Today, the platform was empty. Empty, except for the map. Someone had pinned a laminated trail map to the fence with a knife driven straight through the paper. My map. The black line was thicker now, almost gouged in. It ended not at the overlook, but beyond it, over the drop. The PA speaker at the overlook crackled. "Matt," it said softly, "step over the rail." There was no one around. I checked. Trees, rock, sky. Step over the rail, it repeated. My feet felt heavy. I thought of all the people I'd told not to do exactly that. Tourists leaning too far for a selfie, kids trying to climb. You are responsible for your own safety, I'd say, pointing at the sign. Matt, the voice said, you are responsible. I backed away. No, I said again, whatever this is, no. Silence. Then, faintly, from every speaker in the park, carried thin on the cold air, proceed to the main trailhead, proceed to the main trailhead, proceed to the main trailhead. The message repeated all the way back to the visitor center. By the time I reached the operations room, the PA console was dark again. No LEDs, no power. The breaker was off, like it had never been flipped. 2 days later, the district manager called. You were at the park on the 12th? He asked. Yeah, I did a walkthrough. Why? We got a complaint, he said slowly. From who, I don't know. The system logged an automated phone call to the main office. My stomach dropped. What did it say? He hesitated. It said a ranger was up there, telling visitors to step over the railing at the overlook. There were no visitors, I whispered. The park is closed. I know that, he said. But the recording, Matt, it was your voice. I don't go up there anymore. The gates are still locked, the sign's still bright. In town, sometimes, when the wind blows just right, you can hear a faint announcement riding the air down from the hills. Welcome to Northridge National Park. Matt, please proceed to the main trailhead. The new rangers say the PA system is dead. I believe them, but the trails remember, and something out of season still walks them, calling my name. The year we decided to ignore the closed for winter sign was the year everything else felt like it was closing too. No jobs, no plans, just 5 of us in our late 20s, clinging to the last scraps of the group we'd been in college. When Nate said he'd found a national park campground we could have all to ourselves, it sounded like a joke we desperately wanted to be real. They closed the gates, that's all, he said, tapping his phone, but the campground's still there. Fire rings, picnic tables, trails. Think about it. No screaming kids, no generators, no drunk guy with a Bluetooth speaker at 2 a.m., just us. And the rangers, I said. He grinned. Off-season, skeleton staff. They patrol the main road. We hike in from the service entrance. In, out, no trace. Like we learned in Outdoor Ethics 101. I should have said no. Instead, I said, okay, one night. The access road he picked was little more than a strip of dirt slicing through pine trees. No signage, no official parking, just a widened shoulder where we left the cars behind a screen of saplings. The main gate was miles away, with its big park closed banner and official seals. We didn't see it. We saw nothing but trees. The hike in was short, barely 40 minutes along an overgrown maintenance road. The farther we went, the quieter the world got. No traffic noise, no distant chatter, just wind and our own boots crunching frost. You sure it's okay? Hannah asked. We're not breaking into a house, Nate said. We're walking in a forest. The campground is just a clearing with bathrooms. Forest doesn't shut off because someone hung a sign. He wasn't wrong, but when the tree line thinned and the campground opened up in front of us, a circle of numbered pads, picnic tables, fire pits, and a central bathroom building, it felt wrong. Like a stage after the play is over. Props still in place, audience gone. The sign at the entrance had been updated for winter. In big block letters, someone had printed, "Campground closed, no overnight stays" at the bottom, smaller, in faint marker. "We still see you." Creepy, Josh said, shouldering his pack higher. Ranger humor, right? Right, I said. We picked a site near the edge, where the trees pressed in closest. Tent pads were dusted with old leaves. Fire pits were full of ash and half-burnt logs like the last campers had left in a hurry. It's perfect, Nate said. Like they left it just for us. Mort, we set up camp. 2 tents, 1 tarp shelter, a ring of camp chairs around the stone fire pit. It almost felt normal. We talked, we argued about who forgot the marshmallows. We cooked over a sputtering bundle of twigs Nate insisted he could turn into a roaring fire. By full dark, the temperature dropped fast. Somewhere in the distance, an owl called. The sky was clear, stars sharp and bright. No light pollution, no highway glow. Just blackness beyond the edge of our little circle of lantern light. "Gotta hit the bathroom before it gets too cold," Hannah said, zipping her jacket higher. "I'll go too," I said. The campground bathroom was a squat cinder-block building with separate doors for men and women and a maintenance door in the middle. In summer, it smelled like sunscreen and damp towels. In winter, it smelled like nothing. The lights worked. That was the first thing. I flicked the switch, expecting darkness or a fluorescent flicker. Instead, the fixtures hummed to life immediately, flooding the tiled room with harsh white. "Power's still on," I said. "Guess they really do just close the gate and walk away." The second thing was the cleaning schedule. A laminated sheet hung by the door, with dates and signatures of whoever had mopped, refilled soap, scrubbed toilets. The last date should have been months ago. It was yesterday. Same signature repeated 3 times. The name was smudged. I could make out only the first letter, R. "Hey," Hannah called from the next stall. "There's a note on the mirror." I stepped out. Over the sinks, someone had written in big block letters with a dry erase marker, "Checkout, 10 miles a.m. Sharp beneath it, in smaller handwriting, "No late stays this season." "Creepy," I said. Still Ranger humor, but my stomach felt heavy. We went back out to the fire. The others were deep into old stories, telling the same jokes we'd told in college, laughing too loudly, as if volume could keep the cold at bay. At some point, the park's PA system crackled to life. We all went quiet. The speaker was a small gray box mounted at the top of the bathroom building, angled over the campground loop. It had to be decades old. In summer, it played cheerful recorded messages about fire safety and quiet hours. Now, in the dead of off-season, it shouldn't have been on. It screeched once, coughed, static, then a voice came through. Flat. Official. "Attention campers," it said. "Quiet hours begin at 10 p.m. Checkout is at 10 a.m. No late stays this season." We stared at each other. "Maybe they forgot to shut it off," Josh whispered. "There's no one here to enforce it," Nate said, forcing a laugh. "We're fine." The PA crackled again. "Attention campers in Site 14, it said. "Please extinguish your fire completely before sleeping." We all turned to look at the post at the edge of our site. Hannah swallowed. "Okay, that's coincidence," Nate said quickly. "It's a loop, pre-recorded. Not like it knows what site we're in." The speaker hissed. "Attention campers," it said slowly. "We see you." The fire popped. A shower of sparks leapt up, briefly illuminating the trunks of the surrounding trees. "Well, I hate that," Josh said. We went to bed around midnight. The fire had burned down to glowing coals. The forest was thick with darkness. The PA stayed quiet. I woke sometime later to the sound of footsteps. Crunch, crunch, slow, steady, circling our site. I held my breath. The tent fabric glowed faintly from a lantern still on outside. A shadow passed between the light and my wall. Human-sized. Slow. "Nate," I whispered. No answer. The footsteps reached the other tent, stopped, then resumed, moving toward the bathroom building. The PA crackled. "Attention campers at Site 14, the voice said. "Late checkout will not be tolerated." Something about the way it said late made every hair on my body stand up. I unzipped the tent as quietly as I could and peeked out. The campground was empty. No ranger truck, no flashlight beams, no silhouettes. But the bathroom lights were on. I could see them through the narrow, high windows, bright rectangles in the dark. "Nate," I hissed toward his tent. "Wake up." He rustled inside, then poked his head out. "What?" he mumbled. "Did you hear that?" "Hear what?" The PA crackled again. "Attention campers," it said. "Checkout for Site 14 is now overdue." I grabbed my watch from the tent pocket. 10:17 a.m. The sky overhead was pale. Birds were starting to stir. I'd slept through the whole night in one continuous, dreamless darkness. It felt like seconds. "Nate," I said slowly, "we never woke up to put out the fire. We never did anything. We just went to sleep, and now it's morning." He checked his own watch. Swore. "Okay," he said. "Okay, we overslept. Whatever. We pack up, we go. No harm done." The bathroom door opened. No one came out. It swung wide, then slowly, very slowly, drifted shut again. The PA spoke one last time. "Attention campers at Site 14, it said. "You were told there would be no late stays this season." The bathroom light snapped off. The campground felt suddenly, horribly wrong. Like we were standing in a place that wasn't supposed to exist during daylight. We tore down camp in minutes. No breakfast, no coffee. Just shoving cold, damp nylon into sacks and kicking dirt over the dead coals. No one spoke until we were on the maintenance road, trees closing behind us. When my phone finally pinged with a weak signal, I checked the park's website. Closed for winter. Campground and facilities unavailable. No overnight stays enforced after incident last season. There was a link to a news article. I clicked it. A black and white photo showed the same campground, the same loop, the same bathroom building. Police tape ringed Site 14. Tents flattened, chairs overturned. "Last year," Hannah whispered, reading over my shoulder. "A group of 5 decided to stay after closure. All found dead in their tents. Cause: carbon monoxide poisoning from smoldering coals in an unextinguished fire pit. Rangers had warned them about late checkout the day before." Under the photo, a quote from the head ranger. "We tell visitors the same thing every season. When the park closes, it closes. We don't want anyone staying past their time. The campground doesn't like late guests." I scrolled down. In the comments, someone claiming to be a local wrote, "Even with the park closed, you can hear the PA system in town some mornings. It still makes announcements. It still calls out Site 14. I haven't gone back. Sometimes, when I wake up at 10:17 a.m., on a weekend and sunlight is thin through my curtains, I swear I hear a far-off crackle and a voice saying, "Attention campers, checkout is now overdue." I took the winter contract because I thought it would be quiet. Off-season environmental survey, the email said. Minimal contact with visitors. Primary duties, snowpack measurements, structural checks on bridges and overlooks, wildlife monitoring. It sounded perfect. My name is Eric Hayes. I'm a field tech. I walk around beautiful places with a clipboard and a GPS unit and tell parks departments what's broken and how much it'll cost to fix. The national park in question was famous in summer. Picturesque overlooks, waterfalls, families in rented RVs. In January, according to the job listing, it was closed to the public. I'd have the trails to myself. The ranger who handed me my keys at the district office looked tired. "You're sure you want the on-site cabin?" she asked. "Most winter techs commute from town." "Less driving," I said. "More time in the field." She slid the key ring across the counter. "Gate codes on the tag," she said. "Cabins at the maintenance yard, just inside park boundaries. Officially, we don't encourage anyone to be up there alone in winter. Unofficially," she shrugged. "Unofficially?" I prompted. She tapped the stack of forms I'd just signed. "You already agreed not to hold us liable for anything weird." I laughed. She didn't. The gate accepted the code and rolled open with a choked metallic groan. Snowbanks flanked the road beyond, but the asphalt itself was plowed, dark and wet, cutting through a forest of skeletal trees. No other cars, no tire tracks but mine. The maintenance yard was a flat clearing with a few low buildings. A workshop, a storage shed, a garage with snowplows sleeping inside. My cabin sat at the edge, modest and square, thin smoke curling from the chimney. They'd turned the heat on for me. Nice. Inside, the cabin smelled like old wood and cleaner. A two-way radio sat on the small table, plugged into the wall, its screen glowing softly. I'd expected to have to request a unit. This one was already on. "Base to WinterTech Hayes," it said as soon as I picked it up. I pressed transmit. "Hayes here. For your safety, please check in every 3 hours while in the field," the voice said. Flat. Official, genderless. "Copy," I said. "Who am I talking to?" Silence. Then, "Base." Click. The next morning, I strapped on snowshoes and set out along the main park road, taking readings where the pavement ended and the trails took over. I'd loaded the survey routes into my handheld GPS the night before. Loops that would take me past bridges, steps, overlooks. The park was beautiful under snow, the kind of beauty that made your chest hurt. White drifts, black tree trunks, blue shadows. The waterfalls were half frozen, water roaring under shells of ice. No footprints except the sharp prints of deer and the long tracks of something canine. No human tracks. The first 2 hours went smoothly. I checked trail markers, measured snow depth, snapped photos of railings. The radio on my belt stayed quiet. At exactly 10 a.m., it crackled. "Base to Hayes," the same flat voice said. "Status check." "On Ridge Loop," I said. "Approaching first overlook. No issues." "Copy." I hesitated. "Which base is this?" I asked. "District office or headquarters?" "You are connected to base," it said. "Please check in again at 1300 hours." The line went dead. I told myself it was some new generic AI thing, an automated system, outsourced staffing, government always chasing tech trends with no budget. At 1 p.m. sharp, it called again. "Base to Hayes." I reported my position. It acknowledged. It didn't ask questions. It never signed off with a name. By day 3, the rhythm was almost comforting. Check snowpack. Check bridges. Report in every 3 hours. Eat, sleep, repeat. On day 4, I decided to take the long trail. It wasn't part of my assigned route. It was an old path that snaked out to a remote overlook, closed to the public after a rock slide a few years back. The file in my tablet flagged it as low priority, structural assessment pending. "It's on my way," I told myself. "I'll get them ahead of schedule data." The trailhead sign was half buried in snow. Someone had tacked a laminated trail closed notice to it. The ink was smeared from weather. The path itself was barely visible under the snow. I followed the faint depression of where it had run, weaving between trees, stepping over fallen branches. At 11, the radio crackled. "Base to Hayes," the voice said. "You are off assigned route." I frowned. "Base, this is Hayes. I added Trail 7B for preliminary assessment." Silence. Then, "Trail 7B is closed," the voice said. "Do not proceed." "Copy," I said. "I'm already halfway. I'll be quick." "Hayes," it said. The way it said my name made me stop. "Yes?" "Please do not proceed." The static after that felt annoyed, or maybe I was projecting. Snowflakes started to drift down. I pulled up my hood and kept going. The overlook, when I reached it, was spectacular even under a gray sky. A stone platform jutted out over a steep valley, ringed by a waist-high rock wall. The river far below looked like a black thread stitched through white. No railings here. Too remote, too natural. I took photos of the cracks in the stone, the places where frost had worked under the surface. I logged the coordinates. The wind picked up. Something about the air changed. The radio clicked. "Hayes," the voice said quietly. "You are outside safe trail limits." "I'm on park grounds," I said. "I can see the marker from here." "Trail 7B is closed," it repeated. "You are not assigned to this overlook." I looked back the way I'd come. My tracks disappeared into the trees. They looked shallow already, filling in. What's the problem? I asked. Rock instability? Static. Hayes, it said, you are repeating. Repeating what? Your previous route. I checked my GPS. The track log from yesterday showed a clean loop along Ridge Trail. The day before, the river path. Before that, the main road. None of them came near this overlook. You're mistaken, I said. Base is not mistaken, it answered. I shivered, not from the cold. Snow began to fall harder, flakes thickening into a curtain. Return to cabin, Base said, immediately. On the way back, the forest didn't look quite the same. The blazes on the trees, those splashes of paint that marked the trail, seemed farther apart. The ground sloped in unfamiliar ways. At a fork I hadn't seen on the way in, two paths diverged. My GPS told me to go left. The old wooden wayfinding post in the snow said, Cabin 4.2, May. Cabin 4.2, MI. Both arrows. Base, I said. You seeing my position? Affirmative, it said. You are on Trail 7B. Which way to the maintenance yard? Trail 7B is closed, it repeated. Please return to cabin. How? I snapped. Silence. Then, after a long pause, You are repeating, it said again. Something about the trees at the fork bothered me. The arrangement of branches, the way the snow had piled on certain rocks, a pattern I couldn't quite name. I realized slowly that I'd seen this exact configuration before. Not today. In the cabin. On the wall next to the radio, there was an old black and white photo of winter maintenance crews from decades ago. They stood in front of a fork in the trail, laughing, shovels on their shoulders. The trees behind them looked exactly like these. Even the way one branch crooked over another. Hayes, Base said, do not proceed further down Trail 7B. We were unable to retrieve previous crews from that route. How many previous crews? I asked. Silence. Then, you are the fourth. I checked my GPS again. The track log had changed. The line for today overlapped perfectly with three other lines, faint and semi-transparent, all of them leading to this exact spot, all of them stopping here. Base, I said slowly. Who logged those tracks? You did, it said. My breath fogged the air in front of me. I've only been here 4 days, I said. Yes. When were the other 3 times? Silence crackled. Hayes, Base said eventually. You have not been successfully retrieved from Trail 7B. I'm literally talking to you, I snapped. I'm holding the radio. Affirmative, it said calmly. We are speaking to the version that can still adjust course. Snow swirled around me, disorienting, erasing depth. The 2 trails ahead blurred into one. What happens if I pick wrong? I asked. The radio hissed. On the edge of that hiss, I heard something else. Voices, faint, layered. A chorus of my own voice panicked, calling out coordinates, saying, Base, I'm lost, over and over. Those are your previous transmissions, Base said, from the versions of you that did not return. My knees felt weak. What are you? I whispered. Base, it said simply. We cover the park in winter. We do not like trails that repeat. The snow thickened. The world shrank to the radius of my outstretched hand. Which way? I asked. For the first 3 attempts, it said, you chose left. I stared at the left path, at the faint hint of tracks half buried. My tracks. Not from today. Maybe from some other day that never ended. Right then, I said. The radio was silent. The first 10 steps felt like walking off a cliff. The second 10 were worse. At 20, the snow lessened. At 30, I saw a blaze on a tree I recognized from my initial hike into the park. At 40, my radio crackled. Hayes, the voice said. Status check. On main route back to maintenance yard, I said, throat dry. Trail 7B temporarily assessed. I do not recommend it. Copy, it said. I swallowed. Who am I talking to now? I asked. Really? A different voice answered, warmer, human, tired. District office, it said. Ranger Collins, you okay up there? Your signal's been flickering in and out all morning. I stopped in the trail. Collins, I said. I've been talking to base. Yeah, that's us, she said. We picked up your last transmission. You sounded off. The automated voice, I said, the one on the cabin radio. We don't have an automated system on that frequency, she said slowly. It's just us, old analog. No AI up here, believe me. In the maintenance yard, the cabin looked the same as I'd left it. Smoke from the chimney. Snow piled on the steps. Inside, the radio sat on the table. It was off. Unplugged. The cord lay coiled neatly beside it, dust on the plug prongs. On the wall above, the old black and white photo of the maintenance crew had 5 people in it. When I'd arrived, there had been 4. The 5th man looked like me. Not exactly. Different era, different clothes. But the face, the posture, the scar across the eyebrow I'd gotten in high school. He stood at the back of the group, one hand resting on a shovel, the other on the shoulder of a man labeled in faded ink. Hayes, Eric. Winter Tech. There was no one else in the shot with that name. I don't work winters anymore. When the park closes for the season, I go south. Beaches, deserts, anywhere without snow. Sometimes in cheap motel rooms with thin walls, I wake at 1 p.m., exactly to the sound of a radio crackling that isn't there. Base to Hayes, the flat voice says from nowhere, and under it, barely audible, don't go left again.